In the car. Home wasn't our apartment. I pressed navigate anyway. Hook. The car called someplace else home. I saw it when the map booted up with that patient blue line optimism, and the little house icon drifted 3 neighborhoods south to a street lined with plain trees and expensive promises. Home. 22 minutes, it offered, cheerful as a liar. I hadn't changed it. My husband had the car last night. He'd come in at 2:11 a.m., careful as a cat, and slid into bed with a mouth that tasted like daylight pretending to be brave. My name is Evan. I'm 35. I write copy that sells restraint to people who want speed. My husband is Mateo. He designs light for places that want strangers to feel like main characters. We have been married 4 years, long enough to turn decency into a muscle memory and heat into an elective. Coffee where a hand will find it. The good glasses, even for water. A kiss on the doorframe calibrated to say we see each other, and also there is a train to catch. We don't break easy. Sometimes we don't bend. I pressed navigate. If loyalty is a place, you should be able to drive to it. The car purred out of our block with the kind of quiet you buy when you prefer your mistakes not to advertise. The morning had the color of a promise that's been to therapy. Green lights lined up for me, like the city was done being coy. 22 minutes later, the car arrived at a modern building with balconies that wanted to be metaphors. The lobby smelled like citrus and someone else's good taste. I told the desk, deliveries for 4C, because lying is a skill you pay taxes on in this town. The elevator mirrored me back a face that hadn't slept all the way. At the 4th floor, the hallway carpet did that hush hotels and new money share. For C's door was a white, handsome lie. It opened before I could knock. The man in the doorway wore a white shirt rolled one turn past the statue, and a smile that knew where to stop. He looked like a decision you could live with and regret with style. The apartment behind him had 2 glasses on a counter and the kind of expensive calm that shouldn't belong to anyone at 9:14 a.m. I'm Orion, he said, not offering a hand, which saved us both from choosing between manners and theater. Evan, I said. I didn't ask if he knew my name already. Sometimes dignity is the only thing you can carry out of a room without tipping the furniture. He hesitated, then did the sexiest thing a stranger can do in a burning doorway. Do you want me to leave? The question had an honesty that made me hate him a little less. Yes, I said, because speed is the only mercy we owe people who tried not to be villains and failed. Thank you, I added, because my mother taught me to polish hinges even when the door is on fire. He nodded. As he passed, he touched the back of the sofa like a man returning a borrowed thing. He did not touch Mateo, punctuation withheld as respect. The door clicked shut with an opinion. Mateo stood by the window, sleeves also rolled like a uniform for men who forget promises need elbows. His mouth did the wreckage I rely on him for. No rehearsal, just the truth trying to find a chair. He didn't reach for me. That was the new thing. You moved the cars home, I said, because there are sentences you put down like tools before you build anything. He nodded once. I was going to tell you, he said, the line that comes standard with every betrayal and still manages to make a noise like sincerity when he says it. You kissed him, I said. Twice, he said. He refuses to audition for his own confession. Once because I wanted to be chosen without auditioning. Once because I wanted to hurt us hard enough to move. Both times I thought of you. Both times I kept going. The room made its affidavit. HVAC sighing the way machines do when they're sick of being metaphors. A distant elevator deciding who deserved to be carried. A dog barking far off like a conscience uninvited to this building. I put my palm where it belongs, between his shoulder blades, pressed into the square that convinces my lungs to mind their job and his to answer mine. We kept it indecent for the window only in the sense that breath is a kind of moan when it remembers who it works for. My mouth found the place under his jaw where my name has a rent-controlled unit. "I don't want to audition for your forgiveness," he said into my collar, voice wrecked and not dramatic. "I want to be chosen and then worth it." "Then stop changing the cars home to a place your body can't afford," I said, "and come with me. We're stealing your home back." He laughed, unhandsome and perfect. He grabbed his jacket, looked around like a man memorizing the inside of a wrong sentence, and followed me out. In the elevator, we watched ourselves in the mirror with the particular shame of people who have used reflective surfaces as accomplices. At the curb, the car recognized the fob and the lie parked in the infotainment. I tapped the little house and held it until the edit screen surrendered. "Set new home?" the car asked, cheerful as a wedding DJ. I put in our address, the one with the cheap hallway light and our stubborn dishes, the one that knows the sound of his keys. "Home updated," the car sang, as if such things were easy. We drove without music. The city performed its resume in glass and pessimism. At a red light he reached for me and stopped, then reached again like a man learning his own wrists. His fingers found the back of the heart and pressed, quick. The light turned green and we obeyed. At our place, I did the thing I've been learning to do when nothing else knows how to be useful. I pulled blue painter's tape from the junk drawer and made a square on the kitchen window. Above it, with the pencil that lives by the calendar, I wrote 807. 4 minutes of breath with his palm where breath listens. 3 minutes of inventory, 3 facts, 2 fears, 1 want, no prosecution. Water in the good glasses at 8:20 because a small noise can prevent a large one. We'd done this before, in other ruins. Ritual is a bridge that doesn't care how you look when you cross. "Tonight," I said, "I don't care how late you are. If you miss 807, you make a new 807. You knock on this square with your palm." He nodded, eyes not proud, which helped. At 1:12, my phone buzzed with a push alert no app will admit to coding. Listen to 11 seconds of water. I sent present/bus stop, because present is sexier than sorry when it's honest. He replied present/loadout, which is Lightman for I'm up where the weight is, making sure nothing falls on you while you walk under it. At 5:06, my doorbell made the throat-clearing sound of cheap hardware. Through the peephole, white shirt. Sleeves rolled as if the elbows had something to say. I opened the door because peephole morality is smug and I am not. Orion stood with a small brown envelope and a bigger silence. "I wanted to drop his spare," he said, holding up a key fob to a building I planned to forget. He kept his eyes on my forehead like he'd studied how not to be a villain and decided to pass the class quietly. "And say I'm out of the story." "Do you want me to leave?" he added, because sometimes a man doubles down on decency and it saves us 5 paragraphs of noise. "Yes," I said. "Thank you," I added, because my mother's voice is a seat belt. He set the fob on the entry table, nodded once, and took the stairs like a person who knows doors by trade. When I looked down, I realized there were 2 fobs, one for his building and the stupidly handsome leather tag Mateo had added to our car keys that said home, as if nouns don't change based on who's saying them. I put the tag in the drawer labeled miscellaneous, which is another way to spell maybe in our apartment. At 8:07 he made it. Barely. The square did what it always does when we deserve nothing and need structure anyway. He put his palm where it belongs and we breathed like obedient animals until our bodies remembered whose side they're on. At 8:12, inventory. His facts were actual facts. He'd emailed the building to remove his car from their resident list. He'd told the production intern who knows how to be interesting that the interest was closed. He'd blocked a chunk of Thursdays with a calendar event called MAKE Fire AT Home. His fears were untheatrical. His want was me with my full name. We kept water in the good glasses honest. We kept the room decent and explicit at once, which is a trick, especially with neighbors. It wasn't tidy. Twice that week he was late and the old monologue in my throat powdered itself and asked for a microphone. I made it sit by the sink and listened to the refrigerator sermon on patience. Once, outside a coffee shop, I saw Orion with a man whose earrings looked like punctuation, laughing with an economy I wanted to hate and couldn't. He lifted 2 fingers, weather, not invitation. I answered the same because spite is expensive and I intend to retire loved. We fought, competently like people who pay rent and own the good glasses. I asked why applause still dresses up as oxygen inside his chest. He asked why I polish our dignity until it slips. I said I was tired of writing copy for us that reads like compliance. He said he forgot he could ask me for noise. We traded short, heavy sentences with no adjectives until they did their jobs. He said Orion's name twice, mine without flinching. The square behind my ribs showed up for work. The dealership emailed a survey. "How do you like the updated navigation?" I typed. "Your map is honest. Your icon is smug. We're moving our directions to the kitchen." I didn't hit send. I read it to him at 8:20 and he kissed the hinge of my smile like feedback should be taken physically. We established customs at the border of home. When one of us opens the door, he says, "I'm in," aloud. The hallway light is on a sensor now. It wakes when we cross. If one of us has to be late, he texts present place. The lock clicks like a paid witness. We treat it with mercy so it keeps telling the truth. A week later, the museum hosted a preview that wanted to make rich people brave. Mateo tuned a skylight until a sculpture told the truth about its own weight. "Walk with me," he said afterward, which is husband for "I need you to see me when there's nothing to sell." We went onto the catwalk because I like my metaphors high. He placed my hand on the rail and tuned one more dimmer, a kind of sex only our therapist would applaud. Clean, explicit enough for Steele to learn our names. The security camera bowed and retired. At 3:15, my phone did the water thing again. "Present/bus stop," I sent. "Present/ceiling grid," he replied, which is lighting for "I'm up where the weight lives, still making sure nothing falls on you." Relapses chased us like weather. He replaced wanting to be chosen with wanting to be watched and failed around the edges. I dodged an inventory with a joke and had to say sorry with my mouth, not my copy. Each time the square caught us. Some nights we were saints of breath and obedience. Some nights the room blurred and our names turned the air domestic. People ask, in bathroom lines and elevator pauses and under misbehaving streetlights, whether there was a villain. They want me to say a man with forgiving wrists, or a condo with forgiving light, or a husband who outsourced urgency to a GPS. The truth humiliates us evenly, which is the only kind that helps. The villain was the version of us that treated heat like an errand and romance like a feature. The miracle was repetitive and small: knock on our own door. Say where we are, put a palm where breath listens, count to 60, try again. The erotic part wasn't a white shirt rolled one button too far or a car chirping, home updated like it could absolve us. It was water in the good glasses clicking like a language we finally agreed to learn. It was my name in his mouth at the windows blue, spoken like rent paid on time. It was his hand on my back in public, quick. Nothing for cameras, everything for the animal I am. 2 weeks later, the car asked if I wanted to add a favorite. Work, school, home, it prompted needy. I added here, typed it like a dare, and saved our address under the kind of profanity that only he and I think is funny. He saw it and laughed with his eyes closed, which is where hope lives for me. Last night he came home early with takeout from the place that refuses to apologize for butter. He set his phone face down like manners are still a technology worth installing. At 8:07 his palm found the square behind my heart. The city tried to narrate itself. We let it. We didn't hire it. At 8:12 we inventoried. At 8:20 the glasses did their small hymn. We failed a little at decency, and the window forgave us by being glass. Tonight at 7:58 I will set my phone face down. At 8:07 his palm will find the back of the heart and the tape will remember why it was hired. If we miss, we'll do the only miracle repetition ever made plausible. Try again. 8, 17, 10, 10, 11, 11, whenever mercy clocks in. Somewhere a car is telling someone the wrong place to go. Our door knows our knock. It keeps opening when we ask it to.